This Old Louse, the only podcast for dirty people.
Brian, that's the wrong podcast again. This is The Vinyl Word, and welcome back. And as always, I'm Steve Beach.
And I'm Brian Mayer. Hello.
Who doesn't know which podcast we are in.
We changed the days.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because we have so many.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. But I want to thank everybody for listening.
You know, I like to think that the internet is such a fragmented community that, you know, like there's a place for us out there, and people who find us are like, okay, like there's like a fraction of a chance that they'll be cool. And
right.
I want to be on that
possible list.
I want to be there first.
Right. Of course.
Yep. And speaking of that, Steve, do they have a new way to communicate with us?
Oh, yeah. Yes, they do. When you see our episode summaries, if you look above that, you'll see a little thing that says text us.
Uh-huh.
So, which is very cool. So that's just recently added. So you can just simply click on there, whether it's your phone, on the computer, browser, whatever. And yeah, you can send us a text. So directly from there. So that'll be on all of our episodes.
Right. Some of the texts that we've received already have included, do you still live at the property of, and we would like to make a cash offer.
Yeah.
So if you want to, use that, but use it responsibly, please.
Yeah. But seriously, though, I mean, you can text us. And if you're listening to this episode particularly, send us a text. Say hi. Say, hey, we like your podcast, or I'm sorry I found you.
Yeah.
Either way.
We'll appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, exactly. And you've been doing something else with some of our social media too, Brian.
I have. We are now more active on X. I have been implementing a joke a day. And what it is simply Steve and I will review the news headlines for the day, and we will try to come up with a funny take on it. And I will put that up. It'll be sometime in there. By and large, it is available. I probably don't do every day, but I do a decent amount.
Yeah, at least like 3 a week, something like that.
Right. And I'm trying to come up. I'm pulling up X right now so that I can tell you.
You want to
what
read off
it is.
one of them?
It's Vinyl Word at Word Vinyl.
Yeah, so it's at Word Vinyl. Sorry.
Yep.
You want to read one of those?
Sure, I can read.
Peek.
I can read the joke that we just put up most recently today.
Okay.
Police in Oregon recovered over $200,000 worth of Lego sets in a massive bust. There were no fatalities, but multiple foot injuries were reported.
That's awesome. I like that one.
Yeah. So I we're just trying to be funny. And it's a fun way for both Steve and I to try to hone and refine that joke writing skill.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yep.
And I know you mentioned the other day that somebody had asked us if we ever thought about doing like a live episode.
Yeah.
To which we laughed.
Yes, we just want to tell everyone right now that's a terrible idea. And Steve, I believe, has put together a supercut of why that is.
Yeah.
So Steve, please.
Part of after our episodes when we record, I have to do editing, and so these are just some spots that I have edited out. So this is for your enjoyment.
She's
not my enjoyment.
Let me just
I know.
This
is not just Brian.
You know,
there it is. There's me.
But it just this. You can turn it off soon.
Yes, now that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, I'm just as bad. So if you're listening and you think, man, these guys really sound professional. No.
Steve's very good at editing.
That's all that is.
Mm-hmm.
So, So now it's time, just like there. So let's check in with our good friend, Charlie Cutler.
Yep.
It seems to me that... Oh, hello. This is Charlie
You think
Cutler.
you'd know by now that we're sitting
Let's
here.
just talk for a couple of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that most youngsters think history is mighty dull. I did, until I met Mrs. Trumbull.
Oh, and then she showed.
I'll never forget the first day we went to her history class. We all slumped down in our seats because we knew we weren't going to like it. But she fooled us.
Then she started playing Van Halen.
In spite of what history books say, the Pilgrims did not eat turkey on their first Thanksgiving. No turkey.
It was spam.
No cranberry.
The Indians also
no
didn't wear
pumpkin
underwear.
pie.
Right.
Well, we were so surprised that we all
It
sat
wasn't
up
just like
again
on Peanuts,
to
Charlie Brown,
see what was coming
first
next.
Thanksgiving.
And then she read an excerpt from a diary
An
written
excerpt.
in 1621.
I guess it was a story about eggs.
Here it is.
It was a yoke book.
On our first day of rejoicing together, we ate with the
that
friendly
what she called it?
Indians.
I guess.
Venison, roast duck, roast goose, clams, eels, white bread, cornbread, leeks, and
Eels?
watercress,
Yeah.
with wild plums and dried
I
berries
guess they
for
were just
dessert.
really shocking afterwards.
Then Mrs. Trumbull looked up and said, "The
That
lady
joke,
who wrote
100%.
this over
I'll claim it.
300 years ago knew the truth. She was there." That was all.
She was that
Dismissed the
old.
class. But she had planted a spark in each one of us.
And she was
And
arrested
incidentally,
the
I
next
hope
day
you
for
had a history
arson.
teacher somewhere along the way, just like Mrs. Trumbull. That's something worth considering, isn't it?
As always, no, it isn't.
Yeah.
So we are on side 2 of parental youth guidance.
And I am so excited, Steve.
Yes, you are. You're just flowing with excitement. I can see it.
This record is menstruation and men. And
Menstruation for boys.
menstruation
is the
for
title.
boys. Yeah. And like, what a title. Menstruation for boys sounds like it should have been the name of a like indie group in the 90s.
A really bad boy band.
Oh, my.
Anyway, I won't go there anymore.
And we talk about it before. There are so many of these records that come from a good place that want to be enlightening, but having one guy talk to boys on a record, who, by the way, sounds more like Ben Odenkirk than you would think.
Yeah.
It's hard for me not to listen to this and think that it's a strange Mr. Show sketch.
Right. Right.
Like it,
I mean, Bob Odenkirk?
yes.
You said Ben.
Oh, Ben?
You said Ben
Heavens,
Odenkirk.
no. No,
Bob
Bob.
Odenkirk.
Bob
Yes.
Odenkirk.
Yes. Anyway.
Yeah. He sounds like him, and
Yeah. This is kind of a haunting throwback to Dr. Earl Goldsmith
yes,
in that same vein of, an old man describing the functions of the body, both male and female.
yes. No, I agree with that, and I enjoyed the Dr. Goldsmith record very, very much as well. And honestly, Steve, at some point, if we ever want to, I think that would be a fun episode to have a do-over. Yeah, without further ado, I think we should drop the needle and get this one flowing.
In this discussion, I should like to talk to you fellas about something that perhaps you wouldn't feel should be a part of our discussion each time
Hemorrhoids.
with you.
Are we going to
That's
talk about menstruation every 28 days?
However, it is extremely important to you because if there were not menstruation, you wouldn't be alive, I wouldn't be alive.
Jerry
As a
from
matter of
accounting
fact, we'd
wouldn't
have
be
no human
alive.
Race. So that we would like to talk about it from the medical standpoint to show you just what happens in menstruation and make you better understand the
us.
fact that when the girl is experiencing a menstrual cycle, she is not sick.
Oh, isn't really cool? You're sick.
First of all, let's look at what menstruation means as it relates to us. We have a need for air.
My name is Steve,
This
and
need
I'm an
for air is
oxygenaholic.
satisfied by what we call respiration. So that as the body requires oxygen, we inhale air, and this air comes into the lungs, exchanges within the lungs,
Ooh, like a
the
drug
oxygen
deal.
right at the bloodstream level, and picks up carbon dioxide, which is a waste product. And then we exhale that. If we didn't have the respiration, we would die. We would literally suffocate.
I really like talking
Secondly,
about
we must
death.
have food
Yeah,
in
he
order
does.
to maintain ourselves. So we eat certain kinds of food. Well, the use of food involves a number of things. It involves the chewing or so-called mastication.
Ooh,
of
I know
food.
that. That's when you eat
And this
food
then
alone
is
in your
put into
room.
the stomach, where certain digestive juices will work it over and
Like
get
a
it set
speed
for
bag.
digestion. And then it goes on into the small intestines and so on. During the course of this, the food is broken into simpler particles, and it is then absorbed or picked up by the bloodstream, just as the oxygen is picked up by the bloodstream.
Hey, oxygen.
Thus, we must have
Sup?
food in order to live. If we don't have food, we die. The same is true of fluid, as you know.
So eat your fluids,
So,
kids.
with both of these, we have the food and we have the oxygen. How do we get it around?
Oh,
Well, the
Amazon.
clearly must
I'll have
have
Amazon
circulation.
deliver it.
So that the circulation
it's your solution to
includes
everything.
a pump,
It is.
which is the heart, and a blood vessel series which will take all of this food out to the various tissues of the body, plus another blood vessel series to bring the waste products back to the heart. And this entire pattern of circulation is absolutely essential
Guy's a
if we're going to
fixation.
live, so that circulation is necessary. If anything impairs it, then that portion of the body is no longer going to be viable or livable. It will certainly die.
We get it. We'll
With
all
this, we must
die.
consider, too, that excretion is absolutely necessary.
Crap.
If
Whoa, what's wrong?
we did not
Oh,
have
nothing.
the
He's
blood
talking about
circulating through the kidneys, for
Oh.
example, where the waste products are removed from the bloodstream, we would have a backing up of waste products, and finally we would die
Let me guess.
of
Oh,
uremia.
we'd die, yeah.
UREMIA.
No,
Uremia is
you are
nothing more
MIA.
than the backing up of the waste products that were supposed to go out through the kidneys. So if we didn't have the kidneys and we didn't have this so-called excretory
come.
process, we would die.
We
Now,
die.
how does this apply to menstruation?
Die.
Very simple. If the girls did not have the menstrual cycle, if the women did not bear the child, we would therefore have no race. You would be gone, I would be gone.
All are
Race.
punished!
Because of the fact that we didn't have menstruation. It's very important to us, isn't it, therefore? So it's nothing to
Don't
be
call me
made fun
therefore.
of. And without
It's a
question,
little
there
bit
should be no white
funny.
flip attitude toward
It's
it.
cramping
And we should look at it as something very
inside.
worthwhile. Now, as the girls have their menstrual cycles, some make quite an issue of it. And we think this is wrong, and we've told the girls this.
Did he
for the
just
same reason I've just
mansplain
told you.
menstruation
It
to
is
a bunch of
normal
women?
I think
physiological
you
function,
did.
which is absolutely essential for the maintenance of the human race.
That's some cojones.
It's the only way in which we can have children. If we
Except
didn't
for
have the
adoption.
menstrual cycle, we could not have children.
Sure.
So that the girl who feels that this is something hush-hush is literally being hush-hush
You're a
about
Jew.
the human race
Shah,
and about having a
Hush,
family.
hush. I do I.
Conversely, and this is extremely important, the menstrual cycle of the girl is absolutely her own personal business and nobody else's.
Yeah, what
All
happens
you
in
need to
utero
know is that all women
stays in
must
utero.
have menstrual cycles, and that the menstrual cycle is important not only to them but to you.
Especially if
they
you're
find
married.
themselves
Correct.
a little
That is
brittle,
so true.
perhaps a little snappy, a little bit irritable. This occasionally occurs when a girl is going through the menstrual cycle.
But
It
only then.
sometimes occurs as a result of the fact that she has cramps. Well, have you ever stopped to think of the times that you've had stomach cramps and how irritable and brittle you've been just from
Yeah, but then I
perhaps
stopped
drinking
eating at
some
White
ice
Castle.
water after
It's a solid
athletics, or
plan, buddy.
having eaten the wrong food with some greasy spoon or something
Like
of this
White
nature?
Castles.
Mhm.
You'll know that it doesn't feel very comfortable and you were brittle. So let's not make an issue of this.
Yeah, so quit
Also,
making fun of me.
We would recognize this point that
No.
many women have told their daughters, "You're in your sick time." This is not true. The girl who has the menstrual cycle is not sick. She's no more sick than you nor I,
Oh, this
because
guy's
it
pretty
is
sick.
a normal
Yeah.
physiological function. She
Not
may
in
be
the cool way.
uncomfortable,
Right.
and she may be having some difficulty, but it's not a sick time. It is a normal time. It's a part of everyday life. It's something
So
that the
women
girl
have
will
their
go
cycle
through
daily?
from the time
Oh,
that
I
she
hope
gets
not.
into the childbearing age until she stops, which arbitrarily is from about 11 or 12 years of age up to around 45 years of age.
Oh, it's only about
So that all
33
through
years.
those years, the menstrual cycle is absolutely imperative and is not a sick time. The girls who have menstrual periods very often will miss a period.
Mainly biology
This
class.
is very common at this age level. The age that you are right now, very commonly the girls can go all summer without a period.
But
Very
oddly,
commonly
only
they may
the summer.
find that they are irregular. This is true as one
But
grows older.
Metamucil helps with
And
that.
The only
Yes,
reason
it
I bring
does.
this up to you is for you to recognize that when you get married, you will have this kind of thing to consider with your wife. That is regularity or irregularity, the missing of periods, the length of periods, the difficulty
insane
or
arguments.
lack of difficulty which may be had by the girl.
The utter
We feel,
confusion.
medicine recommends that most girls continue in full activity during the time that they're having their menstrual cycle.
Wink,
There's a
wink,
good
nudge,
reason
nudge.
for
Know what
it,
I mean?
from the physiological standpoint,
Does she go?
and it helps them clear
Aye.
themselves up.
Aye.
In addition, if they are emotionally keyed, it will often, by reason of being physically active, make them take their minds off themselves, and therefore it will clear up.
Oh, like
in some
acne,
instances, and this is a very small percentage, less than about 1/8,
which is
a girl may have a
12.5%, by the
menstrual
way.
cramp that is so severe that she must go to bed or take medications.
Oh, like
or she
Tommy
may
Boy
have
when
to
reading.
Go to see a doctor
Exactly.
about it. Occasionally, there is something that must be done. These are rare birds and are not the ones of which I speak. But I want you to know that it can occur.
So get your wife a golden pheasant
Now,
or a
from the
blue-eyed
standpoint
ground dove.
of a girl maintaining
Rare
herself in activity,
birds.
you may find some
That's a
girls
good
will
joke.
break a date, or some will not go to a dance, or some will not go swimming, or some will not go horseback riding,
Or
or
live
whatever
in a
the case
house,
may
or
be.
live with a mouse,
Part of
or
this is
whatever.
personal to her. And the one feature that we suggest is that personal hygiene be considered, so that you should never, if a girl refuses you during what obviously is the menstrual period, make any issue of the fact that she is not participating. If she doesn't want to, it's her business and not yours. The only thing
Participating
that
in
is your business
what?
is to remember that the menstrual cycle is something that occurs in all girls, and it's something that is very important for you for the years to come.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from the standpoint of the menstrual cycle as it applies to you boys at this age, we must think now of the fact that marriage is on the minds of the girls that are in your class.
In
They
fifth
are currently
grade?
looking at the thought of marriage at the time that seems just best. And marriage, of course, involves many factors. It's an entirely different topic. However, it does
Yep.
include these points. It does include whether you are adequately prepared mentally. In other words, can you go out and make a living with what preparation you have? Are you adequately
H.
prepared emotionally?
Preparation H.
Can you leave your family to start a new family?
Dude, what are you
Are you
doing? Setting up
adequately prepared
franchises? What
physically?
is
Is
this?
there anything wrong about either one of you which might interfere with a happy married life?
I
All
am, of
these
course,
things,
referring to what we
together with
call
the one that is
political
extremely
wawa.
important in society, and that is, can you afford it financially? So these all enter into
In
whether or
other
not
words,
you're going
can
to
you be
married.
a YouTuber and take care of a
Menstrual cycle is
family?
just one part of this, and the menstrual cycle, therefore, must be considered as a significant phase of pregnancy, which is marriage and the family growth. Now, what happens during the period of the menstrual cycle in the girl?
He said,
It's a
period.
very simple
Yeah.
pattern, and the way the good Lord has put us together is this. He has developed within the girl, in the pelvis,
Elvis?
PLVIS,
Somebody say
which
pelvis
is the
wrestling?
hip portion of the body, what is known as the uterus, uterus. And this uterus is
kinda like
known as a womb.
Yeah.
It's a rather pear-shaped organ and has an interior to it, a kind of a
Yeah.
vault. And from this, at the top of it, there are two little tubes,
Little
which lead
tubes, little
one to the
guys.
right and one to the left, known
And one
as
straight
the
on till
fallopian
morning.
tubes. FALLOPIAN.
MOUSC.
And they go over to what is known as the ovary, OVARY. And each ovary, one on each side, has a number of eggs in it.
Oh, like the
Once a month,
1979
the
feminist
ovary
classic
lets loose
Alien.
one
right.
egg or one ovum, and this
OVUM.
ovum goes down through this tube, the fallopian tube, to the uterus itself or the womb. Within the uterus during this time, there has been a building up
So
of
the
a
womb
bed
is like the egg
for
room.
what would be
The
the
womb room.
beginning
Got
of a
it.
child or pregnancy.
The womb.
And this bed is prepared, therefore, to feed the fertilized ovum or
Okay.
egg.
So beds
Now,
eat.
if the egg is not fertilized, then the egg will die, and this lining will necessarily have to slough off.
Slough it
The
off.
removal
Slough
of
it
the lining is
off.
very much like the removal of an accumulation of blood in the
We
nose.
had to have a Taylor
Have it.
Swift joke.
Right.
Bleeding in the nose, you must do something about protecting it so as not to get it over your face or clothes. So,
What?
too, must girls wear protection.
Oh, I
And
see. It's like a
therefore,
helmet
at the
for your.
time that the
Whoa!
this
I'm just
is the
saying.
reason for the protection. And when it does occur, it is a
Okay, when they say
signal
boys
that
wear
the
protection, that's what they
balance
mean.
of hormones has
Sure.
changed. At your age right now, most of you
I'm
are
51.
nearing the end of your growth period. Most of you
I'm just
are
now
getting
starting to
pretty
end.
close to the balance.
Oh, your
of
growth
the
period has just
so-called male
shifted
and
to the
female
middle.
hormones. And at the same time, your metabolism rate is coming to the point where it will be balanced. From childhood through puberty to the adulthood, we must have a change of balance
Weird
of the
pauses.
growth hormone. We must have a change of balance of the metabolism or thyroid hormone. We must have a balance and a change of balance
Like in
of
Star
both
Wars?
the male and the female hormone.
Ooh,
And so,
I am
therefore,
your
if
mother.
there is no fertilization of the ovum, the balance of the female hormone changes itself, and there is then the discharge. This period comes
like a transformer.
once a month. However, this month is not just once every 28 or 30 days. It can vary with each girl. The length of time that it lasts can vary with each girl. And there are only about 48 hours out
That's
of
a
the
good
entire period in which a girl can conceive.
May the
However,
odds be
this is
ever in
something
your
that the doctor
favor.
and the girl together must decide because there is no set rule for it. Thus, we suggest that all girls maintain a calendar showing their periods
A
so
calendar?
that when it comes
Steve,
to
shouldn't it
marriage,
be a
they
flow
can sit
chart?
down with
Mhm.
the doctor and
Okay.
show them this calendar as to when the periods were. Therefore, the doctor can work with them as to how they are going to enter into
Ironically, the periods are
1/4
logged
of
by
the factors that I
semicolons.
mentioned to you about marriage. You remember I said, are you mentally prepared? Are you emotionally
Nope.
prepared?
Nope.
Are you physically
Nope.
prepared? This is the physically prepared aspect of it. And then, of course, finally, the financially, which we've mentioned. Now, from the standpoint of a
What?
family,
Oh, okay.
you must remember that the one aspect of the girl that is totally different from the boy is that she carries the child.
Among
And
some other
therefore,
obvious things.
sometimes at your age, you're going to think about the fact that marriage just isn't soon enough for me. We cannot get married for another 2 or 3 years, perhaps because I have
Your
such deep
hormones are a
feelings we
freight
should
train,
become somewhat involved
barreling
with one
down
another.
the track of
This,
unsafe
we are not
speeds.
moralizing. This is decidedly wrong to do, medically speaking.
But much
When it
funny.
comes to the moral
Mhm.
aspect, that's something else that you will talk about with other people.
Pastors,
When it comes
mechanics,
to
lunch
medicine, let
ladies,
me point out
anybody
these things.
really.
That if you do a period of exploration with a girl, there is a chance,
Pun
first
intended.
of all, that this girl could develop an infection. Secondly, there is a chance that this girl could go to the point where she could no longer, when she did get married,
No
have
longer
children.
what?
Thirdly, there is a chance that this girl could, without desiring to, have the beginning of a family. And therefore,
grammar
when it
nerd in
comes
me
to
is
looking at
dying
it
right
medically,
now.
these three things are extremely important to the doctor, with one more important feature, and that is the emotional upheaval, the emotional loss that goes with this thing occurring.
Steve, is he
So we look
allergic to
it
the
this
word
way
sex?
for you boys
He hasn't
to
said it
consider
once
right
this whole
now.
time.
There is nothing humorous about this when you look to this
Because
point.
that's in the
That
leg.
we must have
Humorous.
digestion. We must have circulation. We must have respiration. We must have excretion.
Oh, here he goes.
Above all, we must have menstruation in the girl, in the woman.
Because if men had
we
to do
didn't
it,
have the
we'd screw it
menstruation,
up.
we would not be able to conceive the family. The family which is absolutely essential to maintain the human race on the one hand, to give you the unit, which is the most
Steve, do you want to
desirable
talk
unit
about
for
your
life.
big unit?
The factor that
Randy
keeps
Johnson,
you
the
together,
pitcher?
that keeps you happy, which keeps you
Never mind.
in the point of having accomplishment, which gives you the drive and the desire, the need for carrying on in this world. And this means, therefore, to have a family, there is only
Why does she
one
keep calling
time
me
that it
there?
should occur.
I don't know.
And that is when you are married, when you can have the happiness, the desire, and the forward look that came just as it came when your family brought you into this world.
Okay, so Steve, you and I, we had talked about some alternate titles that, like we thought that this record could have been called instead of Menstruation for Boys.
Yeah.
So, you know, like,
Scared.
well, like, no, like we can just go back and forth here. I thought like one could be Menstruation, a bloody good time.
Oh, or what about men and menstruation? Go with the flow.
Yeah, I kind of like that. You know, like there's a little bit of a pun, but it's also like you need to relax. This one, what about menstruation is the lifeblood of humanity?
That's probably biologically correct. And a little weird at the same time.
Oh, you got one?
Let's see. How about menstruation and you? When you're wrong and have no idea why.
Well, that's for if you're married.
True. So, as silly and ridiculous as it sounds, are there any takeaways from today, Brian?
Well, you know, like we've thought about it and we've talked about it, and there are some things here. So one thing I learned is that if we didn't have respiration, mastication,
We would die.
yeah, like there's a lot of nihilism in the way that he's presenting
Yes.
biology, which is the study of life. Ooh, cramping makes you brittle, just like peanuts.
Yes. Yes.
I wish that I didn't think that way, but I do. Like every time he talks about brittle, I just imagine like
Brittle.
just popping a piece in my
Crank.
mouth.
Pop, pop.
I don't know about you, but every time I eat a piece of peanut brittle, it's like playing Russian roulette with my dental work.
Yes, yes, it is. Which tooth am I going to break today?
Yeah. Will my crown survive? Let's find
Let's
out together.
Find out. Crack. Oh, nope.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing I did learn is that the woman will probably feel bad for 1 week a month, every month for 35 consecutive years, and randomly within that. So, you know, it doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal.
Says us who don't have menstruation.
I know, like it's just like, oh, like he's just trying to paint this picture. Oh, I also enjoyed 1/8, like 1/8 of women. It was like, and that's not that many. And I was like, that's 12.5% of all the women of the world. Like,
Right.
like that's not a small amount, Mr. Announcer. So, the word sloth. First time I heard this, I thought I heard slurp. That's definitely
A drunk person saying slurp.
not the right.
You're going to drink a slothy slurpee.
Yeah, not the right word. It creates
No.
a drastically different mental picture.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
And eggs eat beds, just like in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like you just tuck your egg in and then you nom, 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 nom.
Right.
And, you know, like if it's not hungry, it
I'll be
sloughs.
fine. It sloughs off.
Yeah. Listen, we've been checking our demographics. We're trying to break out. And we learned that Taylor Swift is kind of popular.
Just a little bit.
So we're trying to do that.
Well, thank you for listening. The Vinyl Word podcast has been written by Brian Mayer, Steve Beach, and Eric Evans. And Buzzsprout hosts our podcast.
Excellent. And as we close, I just want to remind everyone, not all records should be collected. Thank you.
Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da.